Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we delve into the shadows of a seemingly ordinary London suburb to uncover a story that chills the soul. He looked like any quiet neighbour, an unassuming man you'd pass on the street without a second glance. He lived a quiet life, first in Melrose Avenue, Cricklewood, and later in a top-floor flat in Muswell Hill. He held a steady job as a civil servant at the job centre, processing claims for others. He fed the stray cats, he'd wave hello. But for 5 long years, no one realised his modest flat held a horror story London wouldn't believe. Behind the door of this quiet man was a secret world of profound loneliness and unimaginable violence. His name was Dennis Nilsen. History would remember him as the Muswell Hill murderer. From 1978 to 1983, he preyed on the vulnerable. He targeted young men, often alone, adrift in the sprawling anonymity of the city. They were often overlooked. Students, the unemployed, runaways. His method was tragically simple. He offered a meal, a drink, a warm place to sleep. He offered a couch for the night. He offered a little kindness in a city that could be cold and unforgiving. For these young men, it was a lifeline, but it was a trap. At least 15 of them accepted his offer, and they never left. So how was this 5-year reign of terror finally uncovered? Here's the twist that cracked it all open. In February 1983, a plumbing crew gets called to a blocked drain at 23 Cranley Gardens, Muswell Hill. Nilsen and other tenants had complained of the blockage. The plumber, Michael Catron, opens an inspection cover at the side of the house. He pulls out a grey, flesh-like substance and small bones. At first, he thinks it might be from a takeaway, but as dusk falls, he realises with dawning horror he is looking at human remains. The police are called. They quickly deduce the remains must have come from one of the flats. And since the blockage is high up, they trace it upstairs to the top-floor attic apartment. Detective Chief Inspector Peter J. waits for the tenant to return from work. When Nilsen arrives, they knock on the door. He doesn't run. He doesn't hide. He feigns surprise, but when told what was found, his composure cracks just for a moment. Then, with chilling resignation, he says,
"It's a long story."
When asked where the rest of the body is, Nilsen calmly points to a wardrobe. Inside, police find 2 plastic bags containing dismembered human bodies. The full horror of what happened behind that door begins to unfold. In his confession, he admitted to a grotesque ritual. He would keep the bodies of his victims for weeks, sometimes months. He would bathe them, dress them, and treat them as silent companions to combat his crippling loneliness. When the bodies began to decompose, he would dismember them, attempting to dispose of the remains under his floorboards, in bonfires, and eventually down the toilet. He counted his victims, claiming as many as 15 or 16. But due to the state of the remains, only 8 could be identified. Some still don't have names. It begs the question, why didn't anyone notice? The victims were often transient, disconnected from family and friends. Many were gay or bisexual in an era when the LGBTQ+ community was marginalized and often distrustful of the police. They were people the system failed to track, whose disappearances wouldn't immediately raise alarms. There were complaints about the smells of decay. Neighbours saw strange bonfires in the garden. But without connections, without a chorus of concerned voices, a missing person can simply slip through the cracks. In court, his defence argued diminished responsibility, but his confession was lucid and detailed. He talked like a detached observer of his own horrific crimes, a chilling performance that shocked the jury and the nation. He was convicted of 6 counts of murder and 2 of attempted murder, sentenced to life in prison. He died behind bars in 2018. But this story isn't about finding a monster fascinating. It's about the names we lost: Stephen Holmes, Kenneth Ockenden, Martin Duffy, William Sutherland, Malcolm Barlow, John Howlett, Stephen Sinclair, Graham Allen. It's about the ones we still don't know, and the lesson that every single missing person matters. If someone in your life stops showing up, a neighbour, a colleague, a friend, ask questions, call, push for answers, because systems can fail, but community pressure doesn't. And that quiet neighbour? Let this be the reminder. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Often it blends in, it waits, and it counts on our collective silence to get away with the unthinkable. Don't give it that silence. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more deep dives into the cases that shape our understanding of justice.